Hey, hi everybody. Hey, welcome to Helping Parents of Mentally Ill Children. My name's Bill MacPhee, and I'm your host of this Facebook group. And I'm coming to you from Fort Erie, Ontario, Canada today. I'm actually right on the shore of the Niagara River, and which is Lake Erie in Ontario. And there's Lake Erie, and then you have that flowing into the Niagara River. And right across the Niagara River is Buffalo, New York. I actually have a view of the skyline of Buffalo, New York. Yeah, so this is my first live video for helping parents of mentally ill children. And what I'm going to do, I'll introduce myself. So my name's Bill MacPhee, and in 1987, I was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and I was hospitalized 6 different times. I lived in 3 different group homes. I had a suicide attempt, and I spent 5 years on my parents' couch, basically doing nothing. And it was really very, very. However, today um, I am well. I consider myself in recovery, and I'm stable. I do take meds, but as well, what else? I was the publisher of SZ Magazine for 23 years. I did that. I published SZ Magazine, which was a mental health magazine, and I did that for 23 years. And during that time, in 2014, I wrote a book. I actually wrote a book called, it's right here, called To Cry a Dry Tear, Bill MacPhee's Journey of Hope and Recovery with Schizophrenia. And I wrote that. So what I'm going to do basically is I'm going to talk today. We're going to talk about understanding the difference between physical illness and mental illness. And I just want to remind you too that this is the first live video. And what I plan to do is I plan to be here every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So that's going to be my basically schedule when I'm going to be. But I will be doing live videos throughout the week, just kind of at a random basis. But I do want to let you know I will be here though every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and so I want you to share this and ask you to share this and bring people on. I'm all about trying to help you understand mental illness. I'm trying to educate you on certain things, and I'm also trying to bring you hope. And that's what it's all about. So let's go into our session here, which is the difference between physical and mental illness. Well, obviously, if I fell down and broke my arm and my bone was sticking out of my arm and there's blood all around, my brain would say, "Gee, Bill, you got a big mess here. You're bleeding. Your bone is sticking out of your arm. You better get to a hospital and get that taken care of." And that's what physical illness. So I'd go to the hospital and I'd get my X-rays done and the bone set and a cast on, and I'd be all set to go. And with some healing time, moving forward. Well, unfortunately, it's not that easy with mental illness. And because basically the difference between physical illness and mental illness is that physically we know that our arm is hurt when we break our arm. But however, with the mental illness, which deals with the brain gets sick, it gets ill, but it doesn't know that it's ill. It doesn't know that it's sick. And that's really the basis of it. And that's why mental illness is known as a cruel illness. It's cruel because it affects the brain and we don't know that we're ill. We have no insight into our illness. And that's why a lot of times people call it a broken brain or they call it psychosis, which means split out of reality, split from reality. And the brain does not know that it is sick. And so therefore, if the brain is not sick, why would we actually go and try to get treatment or get help or take medication if our brain isn't sick? But that's the main difference. Now, just to give you a little explanation of insight into this, is that you probably wonder, well, if if the brain is sick, well, why wouldn't we notice? If people are doing peculiar things, or they're speaking to themselves, or they're hearing voices, they're delusional, you'd think, well, how can that person not know that they're ill? How can they possibly not know? Everybody else knows they're ill, but how can they not know? Well, it's sort of like this. There's a thing with if you say somebody had a stroke. If somebody had a stroke and they were paralyzed on the one side, and they got treatment, and then they were at a follow-up, but they were paralyzed. And the doctor would come and they'd say, well, Mr. Jones, I want to do an experiment here. I want to see if you can lift your hand, lift your arm. So basically, Mr. Jones would be there and he'd be paralyzed on one side. And the doctor would say, Mr. Jones, raise your arm. And sure enough, Mr. Jones tries to raise his arm, but it doesn't go up. The doctor knows it doesn't go up. But Mr. Jones thinks from that stroke that his arm went up, that he raised his arm. And that's, you'd say, how could he possibly not know that he didn't raise his arm? And that is one of the symptoms of stroke. That's the same analogy of the brain not knowing it's sick, or it's a broken brain, and the arm going up. So that's really the difference between a physical illness and a mental illness. And I want to point out something here, and be very, very important for you to see, is that with a mental illness, some people may say, oh, well, it's just like diabetes, or it's just like having heart disease, or it's just like having kidney disease, where you get medical help and you go and it's fine, and you can cope and you can handle it and all that. But don't let anybody ever tell you that having a mental illness is just like having diabetes or a physical illness, because it's not. And the reason because it's not is because of that broken brain. It's because the brain doesn't realize it's sick. When you have diabetes, and when you have heart disease, and when you have cancer, when you have whatever, we know we're ill and we have to take care of ourselves. When the brain is broken, we don't know that we're ill. Now, so that's the kind of main difference. Now, what we have in some problems here is why mental illness is so frustrating. And if you're dealing with your son or daughter or a loved one who has mental illness, one of the reasons that it's so difficult to deal with mental illness is because everybody who is not ill, we operate on logic. We operate on, things, coordination, things in an orderly fashion. We have logic. We understand why. Somebody with a mental illness is out of logic. Their brain is broken and they're not thinking logically. They don't act rational or thinking logically. And illogic and logic don't mix. That's why dealing with people having a mental illness is very, very frustrating, difficult, emotional, and just downright hard to do that, is because logic and illogic doesn't mix. And so basically that's it. Why? And we can call that lack of insight into your illness. So I just wanted to keep this first video short. So I want you to share, if you can, if you share this, and tell people to join our Facebook group, which is Helping Parents of Mentally Ill Children. And just go to Facebook and search that, and you can join our group here. I'm trying to grow it as much as possible. And once again, my name's Bill MacPhee, and my book is called To Cry a Dry Tear, Bill MacPhee's Journey of Hope and Recovery with Schizophrenia. And what's unique about that book is that it has all of my doctor's notes and nurses' notes and from when I was hospitalized 6 different times. So I'm going to end there, and remember, I'll be back live Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So share this, and I want you to have a great day. Bye-bye, everybody. And if you want to email me and ask me a question, my email is billmcphee62@gmail.com. billmcphee62@gmail.com, and MacPhee is MacPhee. Thank you, and have a great day. And bye for now.